I think the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness?
Now, I'm tempted to call yesterday's press briefing from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre a disaster. I could say, oh my gosh, it was the Hindenburg of press conferences. But no, it was much more than that. This was the Hindenburg combined with the Titanic, combined with 9/11, combined with Mount Vesuvius. This was monumental in its disaster-prone acumen. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre trying hard to say everything's fine here, and she kept saying the same thing over and over again. We'd like to turn the page on this. Oh, I bet you'd like to turn the page on this. Let's just turn the page on this one, shall we? Let's pretend it's all over.
I'm going to ask something delicate, and you may not like it. The president may not like to hear it if he's watching, but I think the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness that cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know?
I have an answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question.
The other guy, wait a minute, that's kind of a political campaigny kind of thing, isn't it? The other guy is merely running for president. He has no constitutional obligations or responsibilities to have a cognitive test or have the cognitive abilities to perform the job functions in front of him. Also, the other guy was standing right next to your guy, KJP, the other night, and we could all see for ourselves which one had it together and which one didn't have it together. Also, did you notice, the reporters are all getting a lot of kudos today based on their ability to ask the obvious question that they should have been asking for the last 3.5 years. Now, yes, we appreciate them finally jumping on board. Maybe they watched this show a little bit more recently. They should have been watching from the beginning, and they would have known that this obviously is an important issue. We're seeing clips surface from reporters asking about this during the campaign in 2020, and they were deflecting it. So this is nothing new. When he became president, they decided all to ignore it. They decided to collude. They decided to work together to suppress the facts and the truth from you. So I'm not going to bend over backwards giving them kudos for asking the one question now, finally, that they can no longer avoid asking. That said, did you hear how deferential the question was? I want to ask you this question, and I know it's going to hurt the president's feelings, and it may even hurt your feelings, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable for everybody, but I really feel like I got to ask this question. I mean, it has to be done. So here it goes. Take a deep breath. Everybody hold on tight. Buckle up your seatbelts. Does the president have brain damage? I don't remember them being that worried about the feelings of the president when it was 45. In fact, they were actually challenging. They were proclaiming that he had lost his cognitive abilities. They weren't even asking. They were just saying he's got to go. It's almost like the rules are different for a Republican and certainly for Donald Trump. All right, but we're just getting started. Now the lies and the spin begin. Now this is KJP at her absolute best and worst when she gets to lie.
Let me just step back for a minute and I guess deal with the questions that have come in about the debate. And honestly, this is something that the president has addressed himself multiple times since this past Thursday. And first of all, I want to say we understand the concerns. We get it. The president did not have a great night, as you all know, and many of you reached out during the debate. The president had a cold. He had a hoarse voice. You all heard it. That's why you reached out. But I will say this, and the president said this over the past couple of days, certainly right after the debate. He knows how to do the job. And he knows how to do the job, not because he says it, because his record proves it. Because for 3.5 years, almost 4 years, the president's record has been unprecedented.
The president's record has been unprecedented. That's actually a bit of a tongue twister that she does, looking in the bathroom mirror before she goes out on stage to make sure she's articulating properly. Sally sells seashells at the seashore. The president is unprecedented. Okay, A couple things here. First of all, obviously they battle tested that line backstage in the briefing room ahead of time. Oh, what should we say? Oh, how about this? The president knows how to do the job. There, that's a good one. That'll get past him. Read between the lines. The president knows how to do the job. Okay, is he capable of actually doing the job? Is the better question. I mean, I know how to hit a baseball. But I assure you that if I got, brought up by the Detroit Tigers to go play in a major league game, I would strike out. I know how to do it, but I'm not capable of doing it. Not at that level. I'm sure Joe Biden knows how to do the job of president. That's not the question. Is he capable of doing it? But I love the fact that they now want to go back on the records. Let's look at his record. Let's compare records. Yeah, we'd love to compare records. Instead, all we've heard from these people is, forget about his record. Trump is a danger to democracy. He's an authoritarian fascist, and he's going to shred the Constitution. Now they just want to talk about records. Yeah, we'd be happy to do that. But the lies continue. They just kept coming.
I guess I wondered if there's been any consideration given to releasing a more robust set of medical records or something to show his mental acuity.
So I will say this, look, and again, I get the question. It is a fair question to ask. We are not taking that away. And that's why the president certainly has spoken to this. As it relates to his medical records, we have been transparent. We have released thorough reports from his medical team every year since he's been in office. That is something that we have been pretty consistent about. As it relates to, something like a cognitive test, to the question that you're asking me about what the speaker, former speaker said. Obviously, she can speak for herself. His team, who has said, the medical team said it is not warranted in this case. We have put forward a thorough, transparent annual report on his health.
Yeah, so those are lies. Number one, there haven't been thorough releases of his medical records at all. We get a tertiary paragraph from his doctor, Kevin O'Connor, who never actually shows up and answers any direct questions or follow-up questions about the president's health and about the president's abilities and about his medical situation. Also, this whole thing, we've addressed this in the past and we've been fully transparent and completely cooperative with all the requests for the president to take a cognitive test. Oh, really? Because I don't know, maybe it's me, but I recall it coming up during the campaign. This reporter, you remember, from a local CBS news station asked specifically whether he would take a cognitive test. And how was candidate Biden's reaction at that time?
Please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to...
What a guy. Yeah, that's right. When challenged during the campaign in 2020 about whether he would take a cognitive test, he called the black reporter a junkie for asking. He was belligerent. He was angry. And then I'll look at the good old Uncle Joe smiley face there. Yeah, that's Joe Biden. That's how transparent and cooperative he's been in the past and how completely understanding he's been. I love Karine Jean-Pierre bending over backwards. We get it. That's a fair question to ask. Clearly, the decision was made to not gaslight even further and say, I can't believe you're even asking about this stuff. This is all just the result of cheap fakes from that right-winger Dana Bash. But you heard Karine Jean-Pierre there, once again, repeat the lie about the cold. The president had a cold. That's why he had a hoarse voice. He had a cold. It was a cold. It was a cold. Remember, yesterday we showed you hugging people and slobbering over people's plates of waffles at a Waffle House just an hour after the debate when he was supposedly suffering from a debilitating cold. He was hugging people. He was shaking their hands. He was grabbing food. Because he had a cold. So then a reporter said, yeah, about that cold.
You just reminded us that President Biden had a cold on Thursday. What medications was he taking in the days or hours leading up to the debate?
And I know that question has come in a couple of times to us. He was not taking any cold medication.
Was he taking any medication that would have interfered with his
He was
performance?
not taking any cold medication. That is what I can speak to. I've asked his doctor, and that's what he stated to us.
That's priceless. Was he taking it? So he had a cold. Did he take any cold medication? He did not take any cold medication. Did he take any other medications before the debate? He did not take any cold medications. Next question. And by the way, this is a reporter actually bending over backwards to try to throw them a lifeline. Cold, that's it. That's it. So just say he took medications. That would explain his reaction. That would explain why he's acting that way. Just tell us it was medications, please. No, he was not on medications. Oh, God. Cold medications. Let's specifically cold medications. Was the president on any medications? Can you be more specific? Was he on cold medications? No. No, he was not on cold medications. Next question. One reporter did want to follow up and say, hold on. You seem to have left the door open a crack on the medications thing. Did I say crack?
Was there any other medication he had taken? That's what many of them are asking.
No, I understand. I was asked about the cold medicine. I asked about the cold medicine. He was not taking any cold medicine. And I don't have anything beyond that. I don't have anything beyond that to share. And look, I've answered this question multiple times at this point. I don't have anything else to add beyond what I have shared with your colleagues here in the room. We really, truly want to turn the page on.
Yeah, we are dying to turn the page on this. She is. Let me just be clear. So in case you missed it, I want to just be very specific and focus like a laser beam on what just transpired in this press briefing yesterday with Karine Jean-Pierre. She was asked multiple times, not about the cold medications. Put aside the cold medications. We understand the answer on the cold medications. No NyQuil, no Mucinex, no Sudafed. Great. Can you tell us if he was on any other drugs or anything else that could impair his abilities? No, I don't have anything for you on that. Wait, are you saying no, he's not on any other drugs or medications? No, I can't answer that question. I don't have any. That's the official line from the White House right now. These reporters theoretically are asking questions on your behalf, questions that occur to you as you see the president's behavior right in front of you. And I think a lot of us over the years have looked at him and said, my God, but is he on something? And the answer to the question is, yeah, that's nothing we can talk about. It's the president of the United States. All right. The Hindenburg continues to crash into the Titanic iceberg.
After the debate, did the president get examined by a doctor or did he get a neurological scan?
A neurological scan? Look, what I can say is that, just to take a step back, it was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night. And the president has spoken to this. And he understands that. And so I cannot speak to anything beyond what I just shared. The president has regular annual physicals that we release in a thorough report. We're going to continue to do that. I don't have anything else beyond that.
So just again, when she says I don't have anything else, that's not a no. It's a I can't tell you, or they're purposely keeping me in the dark so I don't have to stand out here and lie. That's what that means. And the question is, after Thursday night, was the president examined by a medical professional? Did he get a brain scan? And we did not get a no on that. We didn't get a yes either. We got a, I don't have anything on that. I think that the actual answer is no. Why would he get a medical examination after that? That sort of thing, what you saw Thursday night, that happens all the time. That's just a daily occurrence. You kidding? He'd be seeing a doctor every day if we took him in when he behaved that way, because it, happens every day. All right. Now we're moving from the Hindenburg and Titanic into the 9/11 Mount Vesuvius area of the disaster.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not.
Is anyone in the
Now we got an absolutely not on that. Absolutely not. Nobody is hiding anything about the president's health. And yet, Up until 5 days ago, all we heard from people inside the White House was Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. That's the line they all used. By the way, sharp as a tack, it's not a typical phrase, right? It's a very specific combination of words that not everybody uses. But suddenly, after the Robert Hur U.S. Attorney Special Counsel investigation into his illegal handling of classified documents, where the special counsel decided not to bring any charges against him because he didn't have the mental capabilities to stand trial, suddenly, within a 24-hour period, every single person who's ever had any interaction with Joe Biden as president over the last 3.5 years all decided to come out and let you know that he was sharp as a tack. And as Rush Limbaugh used to say, whenever they all use the same words, it's because talking points went out. Everybody got the talking points, and everyone was supposed to say the same thing. Sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, he's sharp as a tack. So everybody says he's sharp as a tack, and then we see what happened on Thursday, and now we're to believe that nobody is hiding anything about the president's health. I think that it's fair for you to reach your own conclusions at this point.
Okay, well, you continue to say it was just a bad night, but is there an explanation then for why it was so bad? If it's not his stamina, if he prepared, as you guys say, for so long, if it's not a problem with his mental fitness, what happened that night? What did we see?
I will also add that the president also spoke to this as well. He said, I'm not as smooth as I used to be. I don't debate as well as I used to. I don't walk as easily as I used to. But one thing that he knows is how to deliver for the American people. He understands that. He understands that he's not a young man, obviously. He said this.
Now, this is an important moment in the press conference because this opens up a lot of questions. Because understand what Karine Jean-Pierre just decided to put on the record on behalf of the White House. It's true that Joe Biden said those things over the weekend, but it was in the context of a political rally for his campaign. Now it's part of the presidential record. Karine Jean-Pierre is saying that the president does not speak as well as he used to. He does not walk as well as he used to, that he is much older than he used to be. And of course, that shows its signs. This now allows for a whole new line of questioning about the obvious deterioration of the president because she just confirmed it. They think that this is a clever political talking point, and it may be in the context of a campaign. It may engender sympathy. It may make voters think, oh, yeah, just like my dad, just like me, I'm not as spry as I was a few years ago, but I feel like I still got it up here. I still can fight with the best of them, right? That's a political message. Now you're officially saying, on behalf of the White House, standing in the White House with the White House emblem behind you, that the president of the United States does not speak as well as he did a year ago, 2 years ago. And so now the questions need to start coming about exactly what is going on. Why? Is it just old age? Or is there something else happening? And again, this much credit to the reporters for actually picking up on that cue and asking those questions.
Pelosi said it's a legitimate question to ask if this is an episode or is this is a condition. Which one is it?
Well, what I can tell you is that
I've been letting these clips run through, but I had to pause right there because I want you to see what just happened. The question about the president's deterioration is this an episode? And it's like a one-off, or is this a condition? And before Karine Jean-Pierre could answer that question, she had to open up her book. She had to flip to the right page. She had to consult the approved notes. Now, if you're asked that question about yourself or a family member or someone you work for, would you need to consult the official record? Would you have to consult the pre-approved notes and talking points? You wouldn't think so. You would think that that would be a pretty simple thing to answer. So watch it again. Watch Karine Jean-Pierre as the question is being asked and watch her not so subtly move to that crosstab to answer this question.
This is a condition. Which one is it?
Well, what I can tell you is that he had a cold and a bad night. I would not see this as an episode. I would see this as what it was and what we believe it to be, which is it was a bad night. And he did, on top of that, he had a cold. And that is the reality of the situation. That is the reality of what happened that night.
You know, they keep saying he had a bad night. He had a bad night. Like, you know, he wasn't prepared for the questions, even though we think he got the questions ahead of time. He had a bad night because he couldn't remember the answers. And that happens to the best of us, right? He had a bad night because he was tired from all of his travel. We'll get to that a little later. He had a bad night. Like, it's just, listen, he's off his game sometimes. And he just, you know, didn't have a great grasp of the facts. He had a bad night. He had a bad night. But, you know, when you hear her repeat it over and over and over again, you start to get a different impression of what they mean by he had a bad night. So you can say all of the context that I just gave you on he had a bad night, and it would work, right? Even Barack Obama said, hey, I had a bad debate night that one time, my first debate with Mitt Romney, and he's right. He did have a bad debate that first time. You know, you don't prepare right. You don't know what your opponent is going to bring to the table. You don't know what the settings, all that stuff, right? Bad night. Let me give you another example of what they mean by he had a bad night. How about this? Well, you know how it is with Joe. He has his good nights and he has his bad nights. And this was one of the bad nights. This is how you talk about somebody who has a deteriorating physical disability. When they have a condition that is getting worse and worse and worse. Hey, how was Joe last night? He had a bad night. Right? And one reporter, after hearing this string of responses from Karine Jean-Pierre that began with she herself saying, he does not talk as well as he used to. He does not walk as well as he used to. One reporter, James Rosen, senior White House correspondent for Newsmax, started putting the pieces together. He was not called upon, but he did shout a question from the back of the room. The question that, based on everything Karine Jean-Pierre just said, seems to be pretty reasonable. Is the President of the United States disabled?
Is he disabled?
No. And let me finish with your colleague, please. And I know, but shouting out, come on. You know better. You know better. Come on.
You know better. That's an obvious question to ask. In fact, I interviewed James Rosen this morning on my radio show in Washington, D.C. Go check out that podcast if you want. Because I asked him, you know, what made you ask that? And he said, well, I'm sitting there listening to these answers. He doesn't walk as well as he used to. He doesn't talk as well as he used to. He had a bad night. It's like he sounds like he's got a condition and he's suffering from a disability, a deteriorating disability. So I asked, is he disabled? Watch the reaction again.
Is he disabled?
No. And let me finish with your colleague, please. And I know, but shouting out, come on. You know better. You know better. Come on.
You know better. Here's the thing about James Rosen. The only way he gets a question asked is by shouting out for two reasons. Number one, he works for Newsmax. And number two, at a press conference for the president back in 2022, one of the few press conferences Joe Biden has agreed to, James Rosen asked a question based on a poll that showed that 50% of Americans think that he doesn't have the mental capabilities of fulfilling the job. And the question he asked the president was, why do you think people believe that? And ever since he asked that question, he's been shunned by the White House press secretary, first Jen Psaki and now Karine Jean-Pierre. So when she says, you know better, what she's saying, she isn't saying you shouldn't shout questions, because she responds to people who shout questions all the time. No, what she's saying is, James, we don't talk to you anymore. You know better.
This year, the president has done more than 40 interviews and unscripted, right? Those interviews are unscripted. He has done more than 500 gaggles, right? Of course, unscripted, talking directly to many of you. No, let me just finish.
The reason a reporter was trying to interrupt her was to point out that she's lying. 40 unscripted interviews. First of all, he hasn't done that many interviews, number one, and they're not unscripted. In fact, we know for a fact, based on seeing the little cards he's got in his hand, that he's told who to call on and what the questions and answers are going to be in advance. And these gaggles, you know what they mean by a gaggle? It means when he's walking to the helicopter on the south lawn, someone shouts a question at him, he turns, squints at him, sort of gives the squat like he's filling his adult diaper, and then he'll maybe shout an answer back. That's a gaggle. He's supposed to get credit for that. All right, continue.
And so he enjoys doing that. He enjoys engaging with all of you. And we're going to continue making sure that happens.
Here's the funny thing about this. You know, I've been around for a while, and I've seen presidents who have a bad night and have a bad news cycle, and they're in trouble. And the funny thing is, if they want to clean up the mess and they want to do something about that, and actually, especially when it comes to whether they've lost it or not, you know what they do? You know what those presidents do? They stand at that podium. They come in and they handle the briefing with the reporters. They go right in there and take command. There's plenty of images of Barack Obama at that podium, Bill Clinton at that podium, George Bush at that podium. Ronald Reagan took that podium sometimes. You ever seen Joe Biden in that room? You ever seen him engaging with reporters like that? See, if you're Joe Biden and you want to prove to the world through the White House press corps that you have all your faculties and there's no question that you're prepared to do 5 more years in that office, wouldn't you go out there and engage with reporters? Of course you would. Instead, what have they done? They've scheduled a one-on-one private exclusive interview with George Stephanopoulos, who is not a television host and not a reporter and not a journalist. He's a political hack for the Democrats who got his claim to fame by killing bimbo eruptions for Bill Clinton. His job in the Clinton campaign back in 1992 was to bully and intimidate reporters from telling the truth about Bill Clinton and women. His whole career before he went to ABC News and since he's been at ABC News has to run interference for Democrats. And now he's going to pre-record an interview with Joe Biden, and they'll edit it however they want it to appear. If they want to help Joe Biden, they'll edit that thing to make Joe Biden look good. But if they end up helping the party by putting the final nail in Joe Biden's career so that they can pave the way for his replacement, then they'll edit that interview and make him look bad. I guess the point is, if you really want to show us the truth, there will be no editing at all. Just turn on the mics, turn on the cameras, and let all of us ask questions, not just your hand-picked guy, George Stephanopoulos. More from Karine Jean-Pierre, because she was finally challenged on the thing that we've been waiting for. Just a week ago, you were declaring cheap fakes, video manipulation, dastardly lies from conservative media just to make Joe Biden look bad. And it was all lies, and it was all phony, and it was all fake news. Do you regret doing that now? You can guess what her answer is.
The administration strongly criticized the media for clips showing the president appearing to be confused, freezing at times, and you called it cheap fakes, misinformation, disinformation. In one case, even implied that it was the product of artificial intelligence, calling it deep fakes. Do you have any regret over using that language?
Not at all. Not at all. And let me be clear, it was a certain part of the media. And, I mean, you can speak to this better than I can. A certain part of the media which was doing this.
I'm going to let you finish there, KJP, but I just need to give you some context. That question was coming from Jackie Heinrich. She's from Fox News. And what Karine Jean-Pierre there is saying is, hey, we weren't criticizing the media. We were criticizing you and conservative media. And that's okay. We're allowed to lie about you. Funny thing, though, about those cheap fakes videos, you know, the one of him standing frozen at the Juneteenth concert that we showed you a few times here to point out that there's something physically and mentally wrong with the president of the United States. That's one of the videos that Karine Jean-Pierre said was a lie. And now she's celebrating it, has no apologies, and sort of flexing because it's okay. I can do that. You guys are conservatives. Yeah, that video in particular was cited this morning by the New York Times as one of the examples and evidence that we've seen that Joe Biden has lost it. Guys, you know, the New York Times, they're conservative media.
And look, independent mainstream fact checkers in the press and misinformation experts have been calling out cheap fakes. And at the end of the day, they're fakes. That's what they were, targeting the president. They had said, the reporters and these misinformation experts said that this president was being targeted. And what we did was echo them. That's what we did. And look, we'll certainly continue to call that out. And the cheap fakes didn't come from me. I didn't coin that. That didn't come from this White House or this podium. That came from the media. They called it cheap fakes. And they said this president, President Biden, was being targeted on misinformation. It was purposefully being done to this president. And what we did is we echoed that. So I don't regret it at all. It was just
the audaciousness of that. Hey, cheap fakes didn't come from me or this podium. It came from the media, you know, like NBC News and their star, Jen Psaki, who, well, up until about a year and a half ago, actually worked at this podium. Or from ABC News and George Stephanopoulos, who, well, back in the 90s, actually worked from the same podium. All right. Well, maybe it came from other people in the media, people who didn't work in the White House, you know, like Chuck Todd and Jake Tapper. They didn't work at this podium. They worked on Capitol Hill for Democrats. But you know what I mean. It came from the media, not from Democrat operatives. It came from the media. The media are Democrat operatives. Let's flip to CNN and see their assessment of Karine Jean-Pierre's nightmare of a press conference, shall we?
Well, the motivation behind that press conference was clear because Karine Jean-Pierre said it plainly. We want to turn the page. We want America to turn the page. We are hoping to turn the page. I mean, she said it 3 times. That was quite clear. The page is not turning because there was a lack of answers to the critical fundamental question that was being asked, which is, what happened? What happened that all of America saw? So Karine Jean-Pierre kept saying, we're not trying to ignore reality. We understand and acknowledge what America saw and witnessed, and that was a really bad night, and that was a bad debate. And we acknowledge that. But she does not offer one bit of evidence or reasoning or rationale for why. Why did America see what they saw that night? And there were a lot of questions asked by the White House press corps. You know, can we get more medical records? Can you bring the doctor in here and make them available? You know, is it time to do a cognitive test? You didn't do one in the last. And there was just none acceptance of that kind of a premise. It was just one bad night. We acknowledge that. But she's missing explaining to the country fundamentally why.
Yeah.
When you've lost CNN, it's over. And it is over. We're just watching it all play out. And what a time to be alive, and what a time to follow news and politics the way we do right here at Town Hall and on this show. You're going to have to stay with us throughout this entire thing, because in the next few days, the next couple of weeks leading up to the Democratic National Convention in August, we are witnessing history unfold. And it's incredibly consequential. And over at the White House, they've got a press secretary who wants to continue to lie at you and gaslight you and pretend that everything's just fine. Let's turn the page. And, well, the page is being turned. All right. And Joe Biden is on the backside of that page.